Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show. We are back with our second edition of this extra fantasy football show. We're calling it our Weekend Warriors, where again we look back at some of the top performing players statistically and points wise from the last weekend of football. Just something extra that we're trying. We did it for the first time last week, some nice feedback and stuff. So we want to keep on developing and making this a great show for everyone. So we're just going to kick off the show this evening, or say this is when we're recording, at least in the evening, by just looking at how we did the weekend and then picking out like a player or two that did quite well for our teams respectively. So I hauled 2,802 points from the weekend. Decent haul, but a little drop off for me. From a good match week 17 midweek. I am now in the Bully News and Bundesliga show league table. I'm 187th out of 833 of you that are part of it, although I think there's quite a few people that actually aren't playing in that sense. Either way around, for me, I think one of my best calls probably from the weekend was pulling in super cheap Chris Furyk, who obviously bagged at the weekend. At the time of picking him, I think he was like 3 mil, give or take, which is crazy. And he hauled 239 points without a star on him. So that was quite good. For me, I went quite hard on VFB assets, and it worked out okay, but it was semi-disappointing as well. Given the result and the potential that they could have got a lot more out of it. Mark, how was your match week, and who did you think that was a good pick out for you as well?
Yeah, so my match week, not quite as impressive. If we did this last week, it would have sounded a lot better, or in midweek, but I only got 1,926 points this week. A few things went wrong for me, like Oppie didn't start. I've still got Oppie in there, and he was subbed on quite late in that game, which was disappointing. Even Grimaldo, I've been kind of failing on Grimaldo a bit recently. He's dropped his form a bit, and he's been my star, and he got less than around about 150 points, which is not good for a player of his caliber. Probably the player that did the best by far for me was Romano Schmid, who is a very good point scorer, by the way, in this game. He got an assist, which got him a very, very decent haul of 259 points. That was despite getting a yellow card, which I think knocks off a few points as well there. Yeah. So, yeah, very industrious display from him. Not quite as good as one of the guys we're going to talk about a bit later on, but still a good man to have in your team. And actually, my top point scorer was Diaz, who got 309, but that was with a star on it. But I probably should have had Elise in there. If I had Elise, it would have been a lot more, I think.
Yeah, big points you missed out on there. Schmid's been linked with Leeds. They're absolutely stripping the Bundesliga at the moment. We'll see about that one. We'll run into it now. The top 5 performers, we'll run through their points, how they acquired them, and also look ahead to whether they're going to be a good pick for the next match week as well. So in 5th place this week was Jens Stage, obviously of Werder as well. Speaking of Werder assets, as Mark obviously alluded to there, 383 points against Frankfurt, obviously in that crazy match. Things to pick out here is that he got 75 points from 5 goal attempts, quite a lot of points for ground duels as well. So 84 from 12 ground duels won. Again, it just shows the sort of player that he is, and he's so dangerous from the air as well. Again, how he got 100 for the goal as well. Did a great haul against Frankfurt. He knows where the goal is as well. He's a really interesting player to have in your team from a midfield asset, especially if you maybe play a 4-man in midfield and you have him as a sub or something like that. Mark, who's up next for Stage, and whether he might be a good pick again to pull in for fantasy players?
Yeah, he's got a trip to the Bay Arena on Saturday afternoon, which is not the easiest task, but who knows? Obviously, with a guy like Jens Stage, as you say, I mean, he's just become a goal machine from midfield, really, hasn't he, the last 18 months? So he scores all different kinds of goals, so obviously with the header in this particular match, which is not his usual way of scoring, but definitely an asset. I think him and Romano Schmid as well, we got to add in there. I think those two players are without doubt the standout Werder actors these days. And both of them, I think, are definitely worth having in your team, despite a difficult fixture against Bayer Leverkusen.
Lovely stuff. Moving on to our fourth top point scorer was Ragnar Ake of Köln, pulling in a really impressive 457 points against Mainz 05 after their comeback win. The striker really hauled in a lot of points, obviously, from scoring 2 goals and gets that extra 20 points for the 2 goals that he scored. Also 75 points again for those 5 goal attempts. So you really, when you've got players like that who are just constantly trying to get their shots off and, shots on target, they really do, add up quite quickly. Interesting point, I think, mostly from this is that Ake got 70 points from winning 10 aerial duels, which is a lot, obviously. He's a striker who can do that. His power in the air as well. Obviously, really important win for the Billy Goats at the weekend, Mark. So, Ake again a pretty cheap option at the moment. Is he maybe someone that is worth keeping in teams again, looking ahead to next weekend?
Yeah, from a personal perspective, it's been great to see Ragnar, the big man, the former FCK, who we've seen live on the channel a lot of times as well, get really hitting his straps as a Bundesliga striker, a player in the second league who always looked too good for that level. And I really hope he's going to have a big runder. But yeah, massive haul there. As for the fixtures that the team have got, they travel to Freiburg on Sunday, so it's another kind of relatively hard fixture on the list. But definitely you'd imagine Ragnar will keep his position for this match, despite the fact that, to be honest, the second goal, I don't know if you saw it, Rory, but it was a bit of a fluke, to say the least. It really kind of came off the post and off his head almost, really, via Danny da Costa there in the Mainz defence. But difficult fixture, but definitely you would imagine he will start as the lone striker for Köln after getting this brace. And definitely a man who wins a lot of duels, gets stuck in, and he can finish as well. Once he gets a bit of form under his belt, he's one of the most natural finishers you're going to see.
Yep, for sure. Next up in third place, been no shock to see, Elise starring once more, even off the bench. This is a ridiculous haul from the bench. 466 points against Leipzig, 3 assists, 1 goal. The man is averaging 313 points per match at the moment across the season, which is insane, frankly. He also got points for successful crosses. He did, that is another way that Elise manages to get some points, extra points as well as winning ground duels. Not as many as last week, but 6 this week, got him 42 more points. And more shot assists, got 35 points. So again, just different ways of players hauling in points, but Elise is doing this quite regularly as well. So really interesting to see that. Mark, the next fixture for Bayern, albeit now we're talking about Europe being back into contention and potential rotations. But taking that aside, the next fixture that they have, what do we think?
Yeah, this is a game I definitely feel as though rotations could be made, so that has to be bared in mind for all Bayern Munich strikers. I think they've got the FCA at home, Augsburg, in what is a Bavarian derby, the only Bavarian derby currently in the Bundesliga. So there is a little bit of kind of, rivalry there between these two teams. But I think rotation is the aim of the game for this one, because obviously the fact that Bayern are going so well, they've got these 2, I think it's 2 weeks in a row, isn't it? The Champions League this week. They play the last 2 weeks in January. So not that the games, even in the Champions League, are probably going to be that important, because they're so far clear in everything, aren't they? Obviously Bayern, should they beat Union Saint-Gilloise, they're probably going to be already in the top 8 anyway going into that game. But I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Musiala potentially get a start at some point. So that is definitely something. I think any Bayern players you're going to put in there, you're probably going to have to get a bit of luck in some ways, because I think there are going to be rotations. We could even see Nicholas Jackson get a start as well at some point, obviously returning as a AFCON winner. So I think, for me, if he starts, he's definitely worth having in there, but you have got to be very careful because there's so many on-form Bayern attackers at the moment.
Yeah, watch those pre-match press conferences very closely and what Vincent's company is saying. On second place, Mercedes Jens, as Peter likes to say, got himself 480 points against Heidenheim at the weekend in their 1-1 draw. Obviously, Jens was a goal scorer and reason why they got a point in the end. He got himself. Most interestingly, the way that he hauled a lot of his points were from defensive acts. So he got 8 aerial duels and 10 ground duels. So all with those two combined gave him 216 points alone. So, really kind of bossing it from a physicality point of view. 79 points for 79 passes into the middle third. So much of the ball, no doubt, for Wolfsburg at the weekend against Heidenheim, and points for the goal. Mark, next up for Wolfsburg and Jens, who's now started 3 in a row. And a really good cheap option. What do we think about his potential for next week?
Yeah, they travel to Mainz, actually. They're going to go to Mainz. So I believe Jens was a former Mainz player as well, right? So, he's traveling to his former club. He comes in form, a player that I've always rated personally, Jens. And I think it's a game, again, where Mainz don't score many goals, do they, really? So I think there's a chance of potentially a clean sheet in the game. It should be a decent fixture, and maybe definitely I think it could be an outside kind of outside pick as your centre half. I might even consider transferring him in after seeing that haul of 480 points. I definitely think he could get the nod in this game, and who would rule him out of having another real massive haul in this one?
Indeed. And first place, our top point scorer from matchweek 18 was Nicholas from Gladbach. 565 points with coming out of that 0-0 draw with HSV. Amazing to see such a big points haul for a goalkeeper. Obviously, this can happen where games go like it, where there's a lot of saves or clean sheets obviously involved, but 490 points for 14 saves in the match, Mark. Absolutely insane. The way that he pulled together that, as well as intercepting some crosses and for long passes as well. 30 points for long passes, as well as some corner intercepts. So, really interesting to see such a big points haul. Feels like potentially a bit of a one-off. Gladbach aren't shy of conceding goals, are they? And he's also, from a keeping point of view, slightly more on the hefty side of a 10.5 mil right now. He does have low ownership mind right now, averaging around 180 points per match. So it's a good haul. He's not having a bad season at all, I don't think. So Mark, big performance at the weekend from Moritz Niklas. What about his future investments and worthwhile looking forward?
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of having keepers in there is that it doesn't matter what type of save they make. Like, I guess most of those shots from Hamburg were just like easy saves, really, but it doesn't matter. You still get massive points for goalkeepers. So it is worth, I think Runer often says that. He says that it's often worth having a goalkeeper that faces more shots, actually, because goalkeepers, if they face a team that have 12 shots on target and they save 10 of them, they're still going to get loads of points for that, even if half of the shots are easy, because that's how it works with the keepers. Like for me, I've got Ramaj in mind, and he often scores well. He very rarely scores below 150, 160, and often gets 250, 300 points. But anyway, that's beside the point. Let's focus on Nicolas. So he actually has a difficult fixture up next against one of the kind of form attacking teams of the league, so Stuttgart. But you'd imagine them to have quite a few shots at Gladbach, wouldn't you? Although they do have that tricky trip to Roma, so again, rotations could be in order there. But yeah, it could be worth keeping him in, to be honest, because I mean, Stuttgart are a team that do have a lot of shots on average. They have a lot of players who like to have a punt from distance and things. So there could be a lot worse people you could put in than Nicolas for this game for me. And I think if I were you, I would probably keep him in or transfer him in, given the form that he's on at the moment.
Yeah, lovely stuff. So that's our top 5. Really interesting to go through that. And hopefully really helpful for you guys to make some informed decisions later on in the week. Or if you're already planning, really hope this helps and hope you've enjoyed this little run through that we've done for you. So Mark, do you want to close up our Weekend Warriors show, week 2?
Yeah, so don't forget that we're not only a YouTube channel as well, we're also a podcast. So don't forget to check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating there. And we're also on social media as well. So don't forget to check out X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. So thanks a lot for joining this Weekend Warriors show, and we'll see you next time. See you then, guys.
Cheers, guys.